Between life and death, the French president on the victims of a stabbing attack in the Alps. A man with a knife went on a rampage in a town square this morning, critically injuring 2 children and an adult. A suspect is under arrest. Also this lunchtime, cancer patients are facing life-threatening delays because of staff shortages. The warning from senior NHS doctors. The Prince Harry hacking trial, the Mirror's former royal correspondent tells the High Court Piers Morgan used to inject information into her stories and she wouldn't question where it came from because he was the boss. How Canada's worst ever wildfires are leading to emergency don't go out red alerts in America. And Christmas in June, why this East Yorkshire town can't take its tree down.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. The French president says children and 1 adult are between life and death after a man went on the rampage with a knife in a town in the Alps. Emmanuel Macron also said the nation is in shock after the attack in Annecy's town square. A group of children were injured, including 2 critically. French police say they are just 3 years of age. A man in his 30s was arrested at the scene. The lakeside town of Annecy is in south-east France. To warn you, Lucy Watson's report has details of the attack on the children.
The sound of help but emergency descends into the calm and beauty of Lake Annecy in the Alps. It is now an area surrounded by police and ambulances after a knife attack in a playground. Screams were heard as this man fled from the scene, believed to be the suspect who carried out the stabbings.
Des très jeunes enfants qui ont été attaqués sauvagement, abominablement au cœur.
They were very young children who were savagely attacked. Antoine Armand, a local lawmaker, told French television. Some are thought to be just 3 years old. It was an atrocity that prompted reaction from the French president immediately on Twitter. An attack of absolute cowardice this morning in a park in Annecy. Children and an adult are between life and death. The nation is in shock. Shock that a man could walk into a park on a sunny morning and stab 6 people, 4 of them children.
Qui a eu lieu.
France's media then showed video of the suspect being overpowered by officers and arrested, reporting that he is a Syrian asylum seeker.
Je vous invite à respecter une minute de silence pour eux, pour leur famille.
It is an event so grave the country's National Assembly held a minute's silence as the news broke. And the Prime Minister Elizabeth Bourne is to visit the scene this afternoon. Right now it is the National Police, not anti-terror officers, leading the investigation. The motive so far unclear. In a place so calm and peaceful, the unthinkable has taken place. Children left fighting for their lives, for just playing. Lucy Watson, ITV News.
Senior doctors say the NHS is struggling to provide safe cancer care because of a shortage of cancer specialists. The Royal College of Radiologists say doctors are being forced to make difficult decisions about which patients to prioritise for appointments, scans and treatments, as the latest figures out today show both overall and cancer waiting times in England have worsened yet again. Our political correspondent Shihab Khan has the details and the government's response.
For almost a year, Phil Martlew had to wait for treatment after being told he had a tumour on his kidney. Unable to get it removed or even assessed for months, he was left unaware if he had cancer or not.
It was very difficult. I couldn't stop thinking about it, really. It went effectively 9 months from original results of the results of the scan right through to the ultimate treatment. So no, I was exasperated by that. In fact, I was appalled by that.
Phil wouldn't have been alone waiting. In April, only 77.7% of cancer patients in England saw a specialist within 2 weeks of being referred urgently by their GP. That's down from 83.9% in March, and the target is 93%. Meanwhile, almost 10% of cancer patients took longer than a month to be treated. That's more than twice as high as the target figure of 4%. Senior doctors have warned the NHS is struggling to provide safe and effective care for all cancer patients and have said investment into the workforce is the solution.
It's really due to years of underfunding of the cancer workforce. We just don't have enough doctors to keep pace with the innovations of cancer and with the demands for cancer treatment. We need to make sure that we have enough staff coming through the system, and we need to make sure that that is funded with new funds rather than taking existing money out of the health service.
But the Health Secretary remains confident that his plan is working.
That there has been a significant increase in demand, and that's why we're investing more. We're investing in 160 community diagnostic centres. We're investing in the surgical hubs programme, a further 43 new or expanded surgical hubs due this year, and we're also investing in the workforce.
Well, the Labour leader, who was at a steelworks in Scunthorpe today, blamed the government for underfunding the NHS.
We, Labour, have put forward a plan to have the highest recruitment that the NHS has ever had for new staff coming in. So we've got a plan for the workforce, we've got a plan for the future of the NHS. As ever with this government, they're just sitting it out.
Getting waiting lists down is a government priority, and the state of the health service is likely to remain under the microscope all the way until the next election.
Will the government Shihab meet its own target that it's set to bring those waiting lists down?
Well, there's no deadline on that target, but the latest data suggests it is slightly moving in the wrong direction. Routine appointments in England have also gone up. They've reached a record high. This is one of the 5 major priorities for Rishi Sunak. He set out his 5 main things that he's going to be focusing on. It includes halving inflation, getting the economy to grow, bringing government debt down, stopping the boats, which we've heard so much about, and also cutting waiting lists within the NHS. As all the polling shows, the state of the NHS is one of the things that many people decide when they're choosing who to vote for. It's a huge issue for people across the country. It is likely to be a huge part of any future election campaign as we head towards a general election, as both parties focus on the state of the health service moving forward.
Shihab Khan, thank you. The Mirror's former royal correspondent Jane Kerr has denied hacking Prince Harry's phone. She also told the High Court Piers Morgan used to inject info into her stories. She said she didn't question where the information came from because he was her boss. She was being questioned about the sources for her stories about Prince Harry as he tries to prove the newspaper group wrote articles about him with information they obtained illegally. Our correspondent Rebecca Barry joins me now from the High Court. Take us through exactly what Jane Kerr said about her time as a Mirror journalist.
Yeah, well, this morning we continued hearing evidence from Jane Kerr, the former royal correspondent at the Daily Mirror. She's bylined a number of the articles under scrutiny in this trial, which Prince Harry claims were the result of voicemail interception, of deception and of unlawful activities by private investigators. Prince Harry's barrister was cross-examining her, asking her about the source of information and quotes in those stories about Prince Harry breaking his thumb, about Prince Harry taking drugs, and many stories about his relationship with Chelsea Davy. She repeatedly told the court that she couldn't remember the sources, but she insisted that she would not have got them through any illegal means. She told the court, "I never intercepted a voicemail. I wouldn't even know how." She told the court that the editor at the time, Piers Morgan, took a general interest in royal stories and would occasionally inject information into a story. When challenged on whether she knew the source of that information, she agreed that she would have trusted it because he was her boss. Now, sitting in court was Coronation Street and Hollyoaks actress Nikki Sanderson, because next we're hearing details of her claim against Mirror Group newspapers. It's claimed that she was first targeted when she was just 15 years old, and the impact has been so profound it affects her to this day. Mirror Group newspapers have admitted one case of unlawful information gathering related to an article she's claiming for, but it is contesting the other claims she brings.
Rebecca Barry, thank you very much. Thank you. Turning to Ukraine now, where a crisis is continuing to unfold after a dam was destroyed. President Zelensky visited the flood zone today and called for a swift global response to the situation. The dam was hit early on Tuesday morning in the Russian-occupied area of Hossain in the south of the country, leading to thousands of homes being evacuated. Today, floodwaters are still trapping some residents in their homes, and there's now a new concern about dislodged landmines. Our correspondent Emma Murphy is in Kyiv. Emma, the situation is escalating by the day, it seems.
Well, even by the hour, Nina, because to be honest, the situation now in Hossain is incredibly dynamic and incredibly dangerous. There is much talk of those landmines that have been dislodged by the water and are now sitting there basically waiting for somebody to trigger them and the terrible consequences that that would cause. But in the last few hours, there has been a different threat. That threat has been in the form of shelling coming in around the areas where people are being evacuated from and around the places they're being evacuated to. We've seen footage of shells landing, believed to be fired by Russian troops, hitting very close to where civilian populations are trying to find some form of safety. Now, the shelling started just shortly after President Zelensky had departed from the area. He'd visited in order to show solidarity and support with the rescue workers and indeed with the people who are being evacuated. And he was very clear in his frustration about the need for global help to deal with this situation, global help to deal with the whole fallout of this dam and the fact that more people are going to be needed to be rescued from Russian-occupied territory that the Ukrainians are not able to do. So they were requesting help from organisations like the Red Cross. But the situation really is incredibly dire. Not just are these people displaced, but now under terrible attack as well.
Emma Murphy, thank you very much. Thank you. Still to come this lunchtime, the party in Prague after West Ham's historic win. The celebrations resume in the East End. And why it's still Christmas in one corner of England. First, Canada says its raging wildfires are set to be the worst they have ever seen. Already the hazardous haze from Canada is disrupting daily life for millions of people across Canada and America, with many being told not to go out at all. But it doesn't stop there. Officials are warning the smoke will pour into Norway later today. The real danger, though, is for those on the other side of the Atlantic. Here is the scene right now in New York, a city waking up to another day of disruption and emergency health warnings. Sangeeta Kandola has the latest.
This is the Big Apple, but it looks more like the Big Smoke.
Yeah, it's really smoky. More than 30 million people are under air quality alerts this morning.
And this is all because of the wildfires.
And that thick orange blanket of smoke blowing in from Canada's raging wildfires is continuing to fill the streets in New York, shadowing the city's skyline with landmarks like the Statue of Liberty only peeking through the dusky skies. And in the skies, fewer planes, hundreds of flights delayed due to poor visibility. Crucially, the smog poses a huge health risk due to poor air quality for those breathing it in. Animals at the zoo have been brought indoors, people urged not to exercise outside and to wear a mask for protection.
This is an unpredictable series of events. As a result, we are encouraging New Yorkers to stay home, indoors, tonight and tomorrow, whenever possible.
When I walked outside, I was like short of breath.
After 40 years of living here, this is bizarre.
In what seems like a throwback to the days of COVID, shows and sporting events have been cancelled.
It's there to protect everyone.
The British actress Jodie Comer was even forced to stop a performance on Broadway after she began coughing on stage. The smog has been sparked by intense wildfires in Canada, most of it coming from Quebec. As these satellite images show, the fires are being blown at speed right across parts of the US. Thousands of people there have been forced to evacuate their homes because of the wildfires, which show no immediate signs of letting up and mean smoke will continue to drift across the border. Sangeeta Kandola, ITV News.
And that smog has now drifted towards Washington, where the Prime Minister will meet President Biden later this afternoon. But matters closer to home have followed once again Mr Sunak on a trip abroad. The honours the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson could award his supporters. Live now to our Deputy Political Editor Anushka Asthana, who is in Washington. Anushka, lots for these two men, these two politicians to talk about.
A lot to discuss, including, I can imagine them touching on this smog. I could not believe how thick it was when we landed here, and we are over 700 miles away from those fires. Now, when Rishi Sunak met political leaders here on Capitol Hill yesterday, some of them have linked this smog directly to climate change, and that is an issue that will come up in that bilateral meeting with President Biden. They'll talk about President Biden's plan to give out pretty big green subsidies. There have been some worries about that raised in the UK. The Prime Minister told us he wants to talk about our success story, offshore wind. As well as that, they're going to talk about economic security, of course, Ukraine, as you've been discussing, and artificial intelligence. Last night, the Prime Minister announced that we will be hosting a summit, a global summit in the UK in the autumn on that. He really wants us to be a leader. But as you say, domestic issues following him here as well. Earlier, the Prime Minister was asked about reports back in the UK that he is accepting Boris Johnson's honours list because he wants to ease tensions between the two. I mean, on that, he wasn't saying very much at all.
I can completely understand the interest in this topic, but all I can say is there's a process that is currently underway. It hasn't concluded yet, and until it does, it wouldn't be right for me to comment any further.
Now, it's not all business. The Prime Minister has brought gifts for the President, including a Barber jacket that says Mr. President on it. And last night, he was at the baseball. We watched the Prime Minister go onto the field at the Washington Nationals pitch. He met the players. Somebody else actually did the first pitch, not him, but he seemed to enjoy himself. He even met the mascot, which was a massive chicken. A much more serious meeting about to happen here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, indeed. Anushka, thank you very much. Thank you. Marks & Spencer has agreed a settlement with the British sweet maker Swizzles after it accused it of copying its Percy Pigs. Swizzles will change the design of its Pigs Mugs treats after claims by M&S they were so alike, customers might have ended up buying the wrong ones. Next to the big party planned in East London tonight, it's to celebrate West Ham's big win in Prague. The Hammers beat Fiorentina to become the Europa Conference League champions. But while the players did their team proud, a handful of fans did not. From Prague, here's Rags Martel.
The happiest of Hammers.
I've been waiting 40 odd years for us to win something. So I'm just so happy, I'm ecstatic, I don't know what to do. I'm walking around on thin air. I don't know where I go. I've lost all my friends.
I'm so happy. I've nothing left. I love this team. I love this club.
How do you feel?
Amazing! Cloud9, incredible.
Good evening. Thousands who couldn't get tickets inside the stadium gathered outside at the fan park on the other side of Prague. And it wasn't long until they had something to cheer about. A VAR penalty decision. And on the ground level, the penalty celebration looked like this. And at the final whistle, the Prague party began.
Just unbelievable. There's no words to describe how we're feeling.
Are those tears in your eyes?
We've had loads of tears. Over the moon. Over the moon. Elated. Can't believe it.
And the dancing continued in the players' dressing room. David Moyes celebrating his first trophy as manager after spending all season fighting relegation and trying to keep his job.
If there was anybody I thought was going to score, it would be Jared. Probably halfway down the line, but I couldn't do a full Mourinho because I can't slide in my knees and the grass was a bit dry.
Celebrations are continuing all the way back to tonight's parade in East London. Rags Martel, ITV News, Prague.
Finally, it may almost be the height of the summer, but in one corner of East Yorkshire, it has been Christmas every day since, well, Christmas. A festive fir in Beverley can't be removed because a visitor has settled in, as Faye Barker explains.
If you wish it could be Christmas every day, then this East Yorkshire town's the place to be. It may be June, but Beverley's festive tree still stands proud, if not a little rustic, in the centre of Wednesday Market. A very important visitor took up residence before Twelfth Night. Not a partridge in a pear tree, but a pigeon in a conifer. It's against the law to intentionally take, damage or destroy the nest of any wild bird while it's in use. So for now, the pigeon's perch stays put.
There's a protection on all bird nests, so it is illegal to disturb a bird's nest. It's a plump grey pigeon with white patches on the side of the neck that I almost take for granted, and that's very dangerous, as we're seeing with the loss of so many birds.
It's become quite the talking point down at the pub.
Everyone in Beverley that comes around here asks about it. We have a lot of customers on a Saturday, they're always taking pictures, asking if we know anything more about it.
Well, at first people were a bit concerned as to why there was a Christmas tree still there. So we were getting lots of emails and phone calls saying, why is there a Christmas tree still in Wednesday Market, Beverley?
Local traders seem to be running with the theme, and until the wood pigeon moves on, this little town of Beverley will continue to have a sprinkling of festive cheer. Faye Barker, ITV News.
That's all from me. Bye-bye.